Okay, let's play some damn chess. Slut from China. Street whore. Let's get some entertainment in this bitch. Okay, where's the goddamn motherfucking entertainment, you motherfucker? She smells like spit. With pit. With pit. With pit. With spit.
It's Sunday morning in Birmingham, Alabama. The year is 1963.
With spit.
A young black minister named Fred Shuttlesworth stands at the pulpit of the Bethel Baptist Church, his voice rising above the gathered congregation.
Come on,
outside,
you slut that
Ku Klux Klan members wait in the darkness. They've bombed this church before. They'll try again.
Start the goddamn
but inside these walls, something revolutionary is happening.
Start the
church isn't just a place of worship. It's a fortress, a meeting ground, a weapon against injustice.
Let's do the
Fast forward 60 years to that same city.
Game. Just
walk into any Sunday service at a historically white Southern Baptist church and count the men under 40. You'll find maybe one or two scattered among the elderly couples and families where only the wives and children showed up.
Slut.
The pews that once overflowed with 3 generations of Southern men now echo with absence. Something is broken, and it didn't break quietly.
Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch.
Welcome back to Professor Archive, where we dig into the stories that shaped our world and the ones still shaping it today. If you're enjoying these deep dives into history and culture, consider hitting that super thanks button. It genuinely helps us keep researching and bringing you these untold stories.
The
relationship between Southern men and the church wasn't just religious. It was political, social, deeply woven into the fabric of what it meant to be a man in the American South. To understand why an entire generation has walked away, we need to go back to when that relationship was still intact. When the church wasn't just a building you visited on Sundays, it was the beating heart of Southern male identity.
God fucking damn it.
In 1776, roughly 75% of American colonists identified as Christian, with that number even higher in the South. The church was where you met your wife, where you conducted business deals with a handshake after service, where your reputation was made or destroyed. For Southern men specifically, church attendance wasn't a choice. It was an expectation as mandatory as learning to shoot or knowing how to treat a lady.
Motherfucking dick, bitch.
But here's what most people don't know. The Southern Church's relationship with its men has always been complicated. A dance between control and rebellion, submission and dominance. The same ministers who preached humility on Sunday often owned the most land on Monday. The same deacons who sang hymns about loving thy neighbor voted to maintain Jim Crow laws. The Southern Church created a very specific type of masculinity. You were expected to be the spiritual leader of your household, which sounds noble until you realize it meant your wife and children's souls were your responsibility.
My goddamn motherfucking
You were expected
dick.
to be humble before God, but commanding in your community. You were expected to turn the other cheek, unless someone disrespected your family, your land, or your honor. Then you were expected to defend it with violence if necessary.
Suck my motherfucking goddamn.
This contradiction was baked into Southern Christianity from the start.
Stupid!
Baptist and Methodist churches exploded across the South in the early 1800s during the Second Great Awakening. They brought with them a fire and brimstone theology that promised both salvation and order. Slaves were told to obey their masters. Wives were told to submit to their husbands. And men were told that their authority came directly from God himself.
Resign.
By 1850, Southern churches had become the primary defenders of slavery. Ministers wrote entire theological treatises explaining why the Bible supported the institution. They pointed to passages about servants obeying masters, about the curse of Ham, about God establishing hierarchies. The Southern Baptist Convention itself was founded in 1845 specifically because Baptist churches in the North had started saying that maybe, just maybe, Owning human beings wasn't very Christian. So when the Civil War came, Southern men weren't just fighting for their economy or their state's rights. They were fighting a holy war. Confederate soldiers carried Bibles into battle. Ministers blessed their rifles. Church ladies sewed Confederate flags while singing hymns. God, they were absolutely certain was on their side. Then they lost, and that loss created a theological crisis that would echo for generations. How do you maintain faith when God allowed your righteous cause to fail? The answer the Southern Church came up with was the lost cause mythology. This wasn't just historical revisionism, it was a religious doctrine. The Confederacy hadn't fought for slavery, they'd fought for honor, for tradition, for their homes. The war wasn't about hatred, it was about heritage, and the church sanctified this lie from every pulpit. Robert E. Lee became a Christ-like figure, noble in defeat. Stonewall Jackson was martyred for the cause. The antebellum South was reimagined as a Christian paradise, destroyed by Northern aggression.
Fucking damn it.
And Southern men were taught that their grandfathers had fought the good fight, even in losing. This mythology did something crucial.
God fucking damn it.
It allowed Southern white men to maintain their sense of masculine honor, even in defeat. You weren't losers, you were faithful remnants. You weren't on the wrong side of history. You were keepers of a sacred tradition that the modern world had abandoned. Where are you watching this from? And what time is it where you are? Drop it in the comments. I'm always curious about how these histories land differently depending on where you're experiencing them. Throughout the late 1800s and early 1900s, the Southern Church became increasingly militant about maintaining social order. When black churches emerged as centers of African American life and eventually civil rights organizing, white Southern churches responded with a theology of separation. Integration wasn't just socially inappropriate, it was theologically wrong. God had created the races separate, they argued, and man shouldn't blur those lines. The 1950s represented the peak of Southern church power over its men. Church attendance nationwide hit its highest point in American history, with over 70% of Americans reporting they attended services regularly. In the South, that number was even higher. The church had successfully weathered World War II, the Depression, and the social upheavals of the early 20th century. But cracks were forming. Young Southern men were coming back from World War II, having seen the world beyond their small towns. They'd fought alongside men from different backgrounds. They'd seen Europe. They'd been exposed to ideas that didn't fit neatly into what their ministers said on Sunday. Then came the Civil Rights Movement, and this is where everything truly began to fracture. Remember Fred Shuttlesworth, who we met at the beginning?
Goddamn fucking shit.
He was one of thousands of black ministers who transformed their churches into command centers for social change.
Damn it, you son of a bitch.
Martin Luther King Jr., Ralph Abernathy, C.T. Vivian. These men used the church as both shield and sword. They held mass meetings in sanctuaries.
My motherfucking dick, bitch.
They trained protesters in church basements. They sang hymns as they marched into police batons and fire hoses. And white Southern churches? Most of them fought integration with the same theological certainty they'd once defended slavery. In 1963, the same year Shuttlesworth was organizing in Birmingham, the majority of white Southern churches remained completely segregated. When ministers dared to preach integration, they were often fired. When congregants suggested welcoming black worshipers, they were ostracized. The largest Southern Baptist congregation in Mississippi held a vote in 1963. Should they allow black people to attend services? The vote failed. Not by a small margin. Overwhelmingly. But here's where it gets interesting. Some young Southern white men, especially those who'd gone to college or served in the military, started questioning this. They watched news footage of ministers like King preaching about justice and love. Then they went to their own churches and heard ministers defending segregation with the same Bible. The cognitive dissonance was crushing. If both sides claimed God, how could both be right? Most chose loyalty to their community over their conscience. The social cost of breaking with the church was simply too high. You'd lose your business connections. Your family might disown you. Your children would be ostracized. So they stayed silent. They sat in those pews and sang the hymns and swallowed their doubts. But they didn't forget. And crucially, they didn't pass that unquestioning loyalty to their sons. The 1970s brought new challenges: the sexual revolution, the Vietnam War, Watergate. These cultural earthquakes shook American faith in institutions across the board. The Southern Church responded by doubling down on traditional values. This was the era of the moral majority, of Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson, of the religious right emerging as a political powerhouse. And it worked for a while. Southern white men, especially older ones, flocked to churches that promised to fight against the moral decay of America. They found comfort in ministers who said that the old ways were still the right ways. That traditional masculinity wasn't toxic. It was biblical.
Stupid!
That wives should submit.
I'm stupid.
That homosexuality was sin.
Rook.
That America needed to return to God. The 1980s and 1990s saw Southern megachurches explode. These weren't your grandfather's small country churches. These were massive complexes with bookstores and coffee shops and parking lots the size of shopping malls. They had rock bands and laser light shows and ministers in designer jeans who told you that God wanted you to be successful, wealthy,
dumbass,
powerful. This new style of church
like,
initially attracted some younger men.
Like I said,
it felt modern. It felt relevant.
Cutting off here.
You could wear jeans. You could drink coffee
fucking
during the
roast,
sermon.
son of a bitch.
The music didn't sound like a funeral dirge. But underneath the contemporary packaging, the theology was often the same. Women were still subordinate. Homosexuality was still an abomination.
Fuck this
and
shit.
Increasingly, Republican politics and Christian faith were becoming indistinguishable. To be a good Christian Southern man meant voting a certain way, believing a certain political ideology, consuming certain media.
Stupid!
The thing is, while
You
churches were
stupid
building their
absent-minded
empires, the
bitch
world was
motherfucker.
changing faster than they could control. The internet arrived. Social media exploded. Suddenly, young Southern men had access to ideas, perspectives, and information that their ministers couldn't filter. They could read about slavery and see that, yes, actually the Bible was used to defend it. They could learn about the church's resistance to civil rights. They could see megachurch pastors living in multi-million-dollar mansions while preaching about Jesus, who famously owned nothing and hung out with prostitutes and lepers. The scandals didn't help. In 2002, the Catholic Church's sexual abuse crisis became impossible to ignore, with investigations revealing that over 10,000 children had been abused by priests in the United States alone. While this was primarily a Catholic problem, it shattered the broader assumption that church leaders were inherently moral. Then came the Protestant scandals. Ted Haggard, the evangelical megachurch pastor who preached against homosexuality while sleeping with a male prostitute. Eddie Long, the Georgia megachurch pastor, accused of coercing young men into sexual relationships. The list goes on, and on, and on. But the real breaking point for many young Southern men came during the 2016 election. 81% of white evangelical Christians voted for Donald Trump. Not despite his admitted affairs, his crude language about women, his casino empire, and his complete lack of religious conviction, they voted for him anyway because he promised to appoint conservative judges and fight the culture war. Young men who'd been taught their entire lives that character matters, that personal morality matters, that how you treat women matters, watch their pastors and their parents justify supporting a man who embodied none of the values they'd been raised to honor. The hypocrisy was impossible to miss. The church had spent decades saying that Bill Clinton was morally unfit for office because of his affair with Monica Lewinsky. Those same voices now argued that Trump's personal life was irrelevant compared to his policy positions. It was the lost cause mythology all over again. The ends justified the means. Winning the culture war mattered more than maintaining moral consistency. And young Southern men, who'd grown up being told that Christianity was about truth and integrity, realized they'd been sold a product, not a path to God. The statistics are stark. In 2007, 23% of American adults under 30 identified as religiously unaffiliated.
So I can
By 2019, that number had jumped to 40%.
Sucker.
In the South, the trend is similar, just slightly delayed. The Bible Belt is fraying. But it's not just that young Southern men aren't going to church. Many actively see the church as hostile to their values, They've watched churches fight against LGBTQ rights while their friends and siblings came out. They've watched churches protect abusers while silencing victims. They've watched churches preach about helping the poor while supporting policies that gut social services. A 2019 survey found that among millennials who left the church, 73% said the church was too focused on politics. 67% said churches were too judgmental. And crucially, 56% said the church was too focused on money. These aren't complaints about doctrine or theology. These are complaints about how the church operates as an institution. Young Southern men aren't rejecting God or spirituality. They're rejecting the church as a corrupt political organization that has abandoned its stated mission. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated this exodus. When churches fought mask mandates and social distancing requirements, when pastors called the virus a hoax or a punishment from God, when congregations became super-spreader events that killed members, young men took note. Once you break the habit of Sunday attendance, once you realize you can have a perfectly meaningful spiritual life without sitting in those pews, it's hard to go back. Then came the Southern Baptist Convention's reckoning with sexual abuse. In 2022, an independent investigation revealed that SBC leaders had maintained a secret list of accused abusers for years while publicly denying such a list existed. They'd actively worked to protect credibly accused pastors. They'd silenced victims. They'd prioritized the institution's reputation over the safety of children. For many young Southern men, this was the final straw. The same institution that had lectured them about moral purity, that had told them sex before marriage was sin, that had made them feel guilty for natural sexual desires. That institution had been protecting child predators. The betrayal cut deep, and it was just the latest in a long series of betrayals stretching back generations. Here's what the church refuses to acknowledge. Young Southern men didn't abandon the church. The church abandoned its principles. It abandoned the radical message of Jesus, who hung out with society's rejects, who challenged religious authorities, who said the rich would have trouble entering heaven, who preached forgiveness and love over judgment and condemnation. Instead, the Southern church became exactly what Jesus preached against: a den of vipers more concerned with power and wealth than with justice and mercy. Today, many of those young Southern men who've left the church describe themselves as spiritual but not religious. They still believe in something larger than themselves. They still seek meaning and community. They just refuse to find it in an institution they see as fundamentally broken. Some have found new spiritual homes in non-denominational churches that focus on service rather than politics. Some have explored other faith traditions entirely. Some have embraced secular humanism or agnosticism. And some still call themselves Christians while avoiding organized religion altogether, reading the Bible on their own terms without a minister telling them what it means. The irony is that the church could have prevented this, if it had chosen justice over tradition during the civil rights movement, if it had chosen integrity over politics during the culture wars, if it had chosen victims over institutions during the abuse scandals, if it had chosen the teachings of Jesus over the pursuit of power. But it didn't. At every crucial junction, the Southern Church chose institutional preservation over moral clarity, and young Southern men noticed. What profession are you in? I ask because I've found that people's professional experiences often shape how they see institutional failures like this. Drop it in the comments if you're comfortable sharing. Where does this leave the Southern Church? The numbers suggest it's in serious trouble. Membership is declining. Attendance is dropping. The median age of Southern Baptist congregants is creeping upward every year. Within a generation, many of these churches will simply close their doors for lack of members. Some church leaders recognize this and are trying to adapt. They're addressing the abuse scandals more openly. They're backing away from overt political endorsements. They're trying to recapture a message of grace over judgment. But for many young Southern men, it's too little, too late. The trust has been broken too many times. The hypocrisy has been too blatant. The harm has been too real. And here's the thing. They don't need the church anymore, not the way their grandfathers did. They can find community in other places. They can find meaning through other paths. They can build moral frameworks without ancient institutions telling them what to believe. The Southern Church's power came from being the only game in town, the only source of social connection, moral guidance, and community belonging. That monopoly is over. And without it, the church has to actually offer something of value beyond tradition and social pressure. For an institution that spent centuries relying on both, that's an existential crisis. This isn't just a Southern story, though the South provides the starkest example. Religious attendance is declining across America, across the Western world. Young men everywhere are walking away from traditional religious institutions. But in the South, where church and identity were so thoroughly intertwined, where being a man meant being a church-going Christian, the rupture feels more dramatic. It represents nothing less than the collapse of a social order that defined Southern life for 2 centuries. And what's rising in its place? That's still being written. Some young Southern men are building healthier communities based on shared interests rather than shared doctrines. Some are rediscovering spirituality in nature, in philosophy, in art. Some are finding meaning in social justice work, in environmental activism, in building more equitable systems. Others, it must be said, have filled the void left by church with toxic online communities that offer the same certainty and belonging that church once provided. Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, various manosphere influencers, these figures provide many young men with the rigid moral frameworks and male identity markers they once got from church, just without the religious trappings.
Fucking damn it.
The future is still uncertain. But one thing is clear, the Southern Church as it existed for generations is dying. Whether something better rises in its place depends on whether institutions can learn from their failures, whether they can choose principle over power, whether they can actually live the values they claim to represent. The story of why young Southern men see the church as the enemy isn't a simple story of secular modernity, traditional faith. It's a story of institutional betrayal, of hypocrisy exposed, of a generation deciding that integrity matters more than tradition. It's a story of men who were taught to value honesty, justice, and moral courage, applying those very values to the institution that taught them, and finding it wanting. The Sunday morning pews in Birmingham are emptier now. Not because young men have lost faith, but because they've found it. Just not where their grandfathers said to look. If this deep dive into history resonated with you, consider supporting the channel with a super thanks. It genuinely helps us continue researching and bringing you these complex, nuanced stories that don't fit into simple narratives. Until next time, this is Professor Archive, reminding you that understanding history isn't about judgment. It's about learning from what came before, so we can build something better moving forward. The past doesn't excuse the present, but it does explain it. And sometimes, explanation is the first step toward change.
Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. Suck my goddamn fucking shit. Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. The fucking bones. Suck my motherfucking goddamn dick, you bitch. You suck my fucking dick. Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my dick, bitch. Suck my goddamn dick, bitch. Bitch, you suck my motherfucker. God damn it. Suck my fucking dick. Yeah, fucking goddamn. Suck my dick, bitch. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my dick, bitch. Cause me this fucking goddamn king. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my goddamn dick, bitch. Suck my dick, bitch. Suck my dick. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. Jesus goddamn fucking Christ. A fucking Christ. Fucking Christ. Fucking Christ. You just get rid of one of these fucking poems. God damn it. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. You suck my goddamn motherfucking goddamn dick. Suck my fucking dick. You son of a bitch. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. Suck my fucking dick. One of those fucking poems is going the way of the fucking dick birds. You choose which fucking poem you want to lose, bitch. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. Dumbass. I just fucked up all your goddamn poems, son of a bitch. Suck my fucking dick. Now fuck up and not take that goddamn poem. Stupid motherfucker. You stupid goddamn motherfucker. Now fuck up and move that bishop right here. Stupid stupid fucker. Stupid! There's no excuse in you having gotten a stalemate out of not won that game, you stupid fucker. You can suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. You suck my goddamn motherfucking whore ass dick. You suck my motherfucking whore ass dick. Suck my whore ass dick. You suck my whore ass dick. Suck my motherfucking. Suck my whore ass dick, you motherfucker. Motherfucker. Suck my fucking whore ass dick, you fucking bitch. Oh, goddamn. Suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. Suck my fucking dick, son of a bitch. Suck my goddamn whore ass fucking dick. Suck my motherfucking goddamn dick, you whore. You fucking whore. You fucking whore. Fucking whore. Come on, you fucking whore. God fucking damn it. You bitch, you suck my fucking whore ass dick. Kiss my dick. Go to hell. Go to hell. Ass. Now fuck up and overlook this right here so I can trap that fucking bitch shit. I didn't say bishop, I said bitch shit. Through spit, through spit. She's cute.
Welcome, everybody. I just recently put a ebook together regarding the atrocities that have literally plagued Black Americans. And it's a comprehensive list. And I thought, when I was putting this together that I couldn't even gather
Obama's arms.
A significant document to account for all of the things that have happened to us because of so many. But, I thought this would be a good idea to put this together because we have many people who are online who constantly spew lies about, Blacks in America. We hear everything from us being lazy to us being the cause of all the problems to us being welfare babies. It's just so many lies. You have people who are promoted online. The algorithms push their propaganda. We have Nick Fuentes, and when Charlie Kirk was living, it was him, and so many others. You have
big development in the case of the teacher who used AI to create sexually explicit content of his teenage students. He just made a decision that has changed the trajectory of this whole story. We're going to go through this case piece by piece and what this decision means. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Now fuck.
Okay, so before we jump into all this,
Motherfucker.
can you believe that the holidays are here? It's like, weren't we just in summer? Anyway, if you're thinking about gifts, I gotta tell you about Cozy Earth. I wore these the other night. They are amazing. They're a bamboo pajama set. It is made with a soft stretch knit that sleeps cool, but it's still cozy for those winter nights. And the bubble cuddle blanket, the textured faux fur is
God
plush.
damn it.
It is luxurious. It's
I
the
think it's
ultimate
fucked
holiday
up.
gift for even the toughest people who shop for. You know who those people are. Well, Cozy Earth also has a 100-night sleep trial and a
I think I
10-year
fu-
warranty.
I think I
You can
fucked
shop
up.
and gift risk-free. And right now,
I think I just
Black
fucked
Friday
up.
has come early at Cozy Earth. You stack my code LONGCRIME on top of their site-wide sale for up to 40% off. So wrap the ones you love in luxury with Cozy Earth. So if you've been watching us here on Sidebar for a bit, you might remember this shocking case out of Corinth, Mississippi. This is where a middle school teacher was accused of using artificial intelligence, AI, to create explicit videos of his own students. Shocking, right? Shocking, but I mean, this is the new potential reality we live in. Well, here's the thing. We got a major update. That teacher, Wilson Jones, has just made a shocking decision that will change the course of this case forever. Jones was scheduled to go to court up against some very serious federal charges that he possessed and produced child pornography, that he used his school-issued laptop to essentially create obscene visual depictions of minors, specifically AI-generated explicit material that featured the faces of his own students. This is a case, not surprisingly, that sparked outrage, especially when it was revealed that the school superintendent allegedly knew about this and let Jones just quietly resign instead of immediately reporting him to authorities. He has been indicted too, by the way. So what was the decision with respect to Jones? What are we talking about? Well, to understand just how significant
God
this
damn it.
is, you need the full story of how this all came to light.
God fucking
This is a
damn it.
case that involves a school monitoring system, specific AI prompts,
God
and a
fucking
months-long
damn it.
gap before law enforcement ever got involved. Here's what happened. This all started back in November
God
19,
fucking damn
2024
it.
at Mississippi's Corinth Middle School. According to the complaint in this case, at 1:17 in the afternoon, a monitoring system called the BARK app, which scans the school district's network for illicit content, sent out a, quote, severe alert. And this was tagged as sexual,
fucking
and it was coming from teacher Wilson Jones' school-issued computer. So the principal here,
Suck
Chris
my
Hillo,
fucking dick.
got a text about it. He looked into it, contacted the district's tech director, who was able to pull 3 videos directly from Jones' computer. And the tech director found out that Jones had apparently sent this content to his personal Google Drive, which is what triggered the alert in the first place. Now, these videos were of students, and they showed what were described as known Corinth students engaging in inappropriate behavior, including kissing and exposing themselves. But none of this was real, because here's the key. The website used to create these images was right there in the file name at the bottom of the images. It was an AI site called Hiluo.ai. Now, the very next morning, what happens? The principal and the vice principal, they meet with Jones. They had already taken his laptop. And right there, in that meeting, Jones admitted it. He said he created videos using AI, though he claimed they, quote, weren't sexual. He confirmed he used this website, said he got the original images from social media. He even acknowledged that one of the people in the images was a local student. But here's the thing, talk about technology. Investigators would later find the exact keystrokes he typed into that AI system. The prompts were detailed, and they were very explicit, describing, quote, 2 girls posing in each other's arms stop to kiss, instructing the AI to have them, quote, roll up their baggy dresses to reveal each other's picture-perfect bodies, garmentless. Now, Jones resigned from the school just one day after that meeting on November 21st. But here's the part that really is controversial, aside from everything else. This was in November. The Mississippi Department of Education didn't find out about this until the end of January in the Corinth Police Department, and the FBI didn't serve a subpoena and seize all the evidence, the laptops, the videos, everything, until March 3rd of this year. So when the FBI finally reviewed the material, they identified 8 underage victims. These are kids from the school between 14 and 16 years old. The feds concluded that these were AI-generated videos that used the likenesses of known children from the Corinth School District. And that evidence led to a federal indictment, setting the stage for a dramatic courtroom battle. But now, Wilson Jones has made his choice. So what did he do? He took a plea. Now, this wasn't just a simple guilty plea. Now, the details of this agreement, they are fascinating. They carry huge consequences. To help break all this down, I want to welcome back on the sidebar special guest, Professor Mary Fan. She's the Jack R. McDonald Endowed Chair at the University of Washington School of Law, former prosecutor, expert in criminal law and evidence. Thank you so much for coming back here, Professor Fan. So I want to start with the headline. Wilson Jones pleaded guilty to 1 count of possession of child pornography. The indictment had 2 counts. The second was production. What's the strategic thinking here for both sides? Why agree to plead guilty to 1 count and not the other?
Sure, it's a very common practice for defendants to get what we call charge bargains. A charge bargain is the prosecutor controls what charges to bring, and as a sweetener to get somebody to plead guilty and spare people a trial, the cost, the expense, and having their images potentially aired to others. The government may agree to dismiss 1 or more charges and have the defendant plead to 1 charge, as we see here.
And the penalty's severe. I mean, the penalties he's now facing for this single possession count, again, let's look at documents. So the plea agreement states that he faces, and I'm quoting this directly, maximum possible penalties of not more than 10 years incarceration, not less than 5 years, and not more than life supervised release, not more than a $250,000 fine, an additional assessment of $5,000, a $17,000 possession assessment, restitution as appropriate to the victim or victims, and a mandatory special assessment of $100. Professor Fan, what time do you think he's going to get?
You know, I have to know his criminal history. Because what the actual time that people get depends on any prior history that they may have. So we calculate the actual range based on factors like whether probation and parole as the applicable sentencing guideline range for the offense. So you often will see very high statutory maximums for an offense that are theoretically possible, but the actual range is going to be based on a recommended guidelines range.
The life supervised release, the requirement that has to register as a sex offender. And let's just go there. The document's very clear. It says the defendant is required to register as a sex offender, keep the registration current in each jurisdiction where the defendant resides, or where the defendant is employed, and where the defendant is a student pursuant to the Sex Offender Registration and Notification Act. So to register as a sex offender, maybe supervised release, what does that mean for him? What does a life look like there?
I mean, sex offender registration is our modern day life sentence in terms of just the stigma that somebody bears for the rest of their life. It's going to affect not just employment prospects, and certainly employment prospects for someone who used to be a teacher who worked with children, but also the experience of being able to move into an apartment, move into a neighborhood, and join a community. It's going to affect the individual for the rest of their lives.
And then there's the matter of restitution. So the agreement says that he agrees to, quote, make full restitution to all minor victims of his offenses, and it specifically notes that restitution is, quote, not limited to the count of conviction. What is he looking at there?
Other offenses may not be the basis of conviction under the plea agreement, but there could be other harms that are done, and there could be that are not actually within the 4 corners of the plea agreement, but the defendant's agreeing to address all the harms, not just the ones that are specific to the charge to which he pled guilty.
Now, while I have you here, I want to get into some more of the context of this to understand exactly what is the evidence that led to this plea deal, because we need to rewind to the beginning. The criminal complaint lays it all out. So it starts with this single digital alert. The affidavit states that on November 19, 2024, the school's monitoring system, the BARC app, triggered and again, I'm quoting this directly, severe alert tagged as sexual at 1:17 p.m. from Wilson Jones' computer. Now, from your experience, that feels pretty concrete.
Now, fuck up and move right here.
It'd be very interesting in a trial how a defense attorney would try to argue against something like that. It seems like a key piece of evidence and a direct piece of evidence.
There's always going to be, defense attorneys have to be creative, and there's always going to be potential avenues to challenge, especially automated alerts, because, we know technology makes errors. You may be familiar with other cases where we use technology, automated technology, to send alerts. For example, a bag of Doritos being mistaken for a gun by a high schooler is an example that he recently hit headlines. So you can challenge the accuracy behind automated alerts.
Okay,
and then the school tech director was able to access Jones' computer, found the source. The affidavit says, Frame stated that Jones sent the content to his personal Google Drive, which triggered the BARC alert. The videos depicted known Corinth students engaging in inappropriate behavior, including kissing and exposing themselves. The website used to create these images, the one I mentioned before, was listed in the file name at the bottom of the images. As I'm listening to this, and as it's being laid out, Professor, it does make it more understandable why he would have pled guilty here and not taken this to trial. Am I totally off?
Absolutely. What you have here are images. You have images of discernible students who are engaging in activity that's clearly prescribed under federal child pornography statutes. When the evidence is so strong, and you also have the electronic trail that the defendant even used school equipment to transmit this material. Not only is the evidence really strong for proof beyond reasonable doubt, but it's also really problematic to air before a jury to see the full scope of what he's been doing.
Yeah, it doesn't help that he apparently admitted that he created the videos using AI, claimed it wasn't sexual. By the way, generally speaking, this kind of case, when we first covered it, it was groundbreaking. I hadn't heard of a case like this before, let alone a teacher using AI to create images of the students in these situations. It's kind of insane to be thinking about. But the law is going to be changing on this, right? I imagine this is not the first and only case we're going to see. It may get even worse.
Absolutely. The law is changing. For example, Colorado actually had a case where an individual actually morphed images from a couple of fellow students to create a simulation of intimate activity. And the question was, do existing laws cover such AI-generated material? And bottom line, Colorado law, the Colorado Supreme Court has recently intervened, interpreting new laws to not apply retroactively to conduct that occurred before the new law, but saying in the future, such AI-generated content would be a crime.
Is there any way to hold the AI companies liable to make sure that their systems are not used to do this?
That's a really interesting question, right? To hold companies liable for misuse of their technology. These are major challenges, because think about AI is just another product, a product that can cause harm, like a knife could cause harm, like a car could cause harm. It could also do a lot of beneficial things as well. And so the challenge is with any sort of product liability situation, trying to hold the manufacturer of a product that has many legitimate uses liable for a subset of misuse. I think the analogy is similar if you're going to try to hold a car maker. And we've seen, by the way, attempts to this. We've seen attempts to hold car makers liable for being easily stealable, and therefore being a right target to be stolen, for example. So, there certainly could be attempts by creative plaintiffs' attorneys, especially in the civil context, for tort liability.
No, that's a good point. Professor, this case has another major dimension that sparked outrage. It was the actions, or the alleged actions, of then Superintendent Edward Childress. So the indictment against him alleges that after learning of Jones' conduct, he, and I'm quoting from the document here, quote, did conceal the same by permitting Wilson Jones to resign his position as a teacher at the Corinth School District and misrepresenting to the Corinth School Board the reason for Wilson Jones' resignation from his position as a teacher at the Corinth School District, and did not, as soon as possible, make known the same to some judge or other person in civil or military authority under the United States. So he's basically been indicted on hindering prosecution. What do you make of that charge? What do you make of that allegation? And what would prosecutors need to prove that this delay wasn't poor judgment or trying to get more facts, but this was a crime?
Yeah, so, this is an individual who held a position of trust, had special duties because of that position of trust, and according to the allegations at least, affirmatively took steps like misrepresentation to conceal harm that was done to students to whom he's entrusted as a fiduciary. So I think there's some really compelling elements to this charge. In American law, we usually don't hold people responsible for omissions to act. We usually punish commission. However, one of the exceptions is when somebody is in a position of trust, and then we have here not just omissions, but also some affirmative commissions to conceal the tracks of the offense.
That's a really good point because, unfortunately, I cover a number of stories of child abuse, all different kinds, in schools or educators, instructors, things of that nature. You can't automatically arrest the principal or the superintendent because they didn't follow it, they didn't notice it, they didn't report it. It has to be something blatant. It has to be something. So if the allegation is that he misrepresented what was going on, that's what makes it rise to a different level here. And I do wonder, if you have Jones pleading guilty, how does that affect Childress' case?
Well, you have some elements established, right? Potentially by the guilty plea, you have elements established that this material meets the definition of child pornography under federal law, for example. And so, certainly, and you have the establishment that there was a crime to be covered up. And so that helps facilitate prosecution there for covering up such a crime. You already established that there was a crime.
I have a question for you. I don't know if it's a legal question or how it happened, but I have to get your opinion on it. So, in a final, shocking, let's call it postscript to the story, we learn that after resigning, Wilson Jones, the guy who just pled guilty, Wilson Jones, managed to get another job working with the state's most vulnerable children. From our previous reporting, we learned that Jones was hired by the Mississippi Department of Child Protection and Services as a social service specialist, and in his application, he reportedly asked the agency not to contact his former employer at the Corinth School District. How is this possible, Professor?
Wow, I'd have to look at the entire employment form, but I would wonder, one of my first questions, and any prosecutor's first question, might be, did he affirmatively misrepresent conduct? A lot of times some of these employment forms where you're in a sensitive position of trust with vulnerable individuals will ask if you've ever committed certain kinds of wrongdoing. And so one of the first things I want to see is if there's such a question to that effect, if there was any affirmative misrepresentation. This would be a misrepresentation on a form to a government agency, which can carry its own criminal consequences. But it is remarkable that he was able to secure such a job.
Jones was facing a lot here, not only federal charges. He was indicted on 3 counts of depicting a child engaging in sexual conduct at the state level, and as we mentioned, he's now going to be having his formal sentencing on March 2nd, 2026, where a judge will decide what that fate should be. It does make me wonder if the judge is going to make a statement with this, if the judge is going to go on the higher end, to say not only is this deplorable and unacceptable, but maybe to deter others who would use such technology to do this, because it feels, I hate to say it feels like you can use this technology pretty easily to create this kind of content.
That's right. There are guardrails. potential on this technology, but they are circumventable by tech-savvy people. And so, sentencing is supposed to be individual. It's individual to the person before the court. It's going to be based on their admission, their owning of responsibility, their attempts to repair the harm, their prior history, etc. But certainly, another factor is what we call general deterrence, which is what is the deterrent message to the community as well. And so that could be a relevant factor, the idea that we want to send a message that this is not just playing around with AI, that this has potentially serious harms, and we want to recognize the fullness of the harms too. In this case, real students who are impacted.
Well, we will see what he is sentenced to. We will see what happens with Childress's case as well. Mary Fan, Professor Mary Fan, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.
God damn it. God fucking damn it. Man, this is fucking bullshit. Dumbass. Dumbass bitch. You, my dear sir, just fucked up. You, my dear sir, have just fucked up. You, my dear sir, have just fucked up. Dumbass. 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 Suck my fucking whore ass dick. Suck my fucking dick. Suck my fucking dick. God fucking damn it. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. Fucking Christ or fuck. Now buck up and take that rook. Oh, suck my motherfucking dick, bitch. Fucking Christ. Now fuck up and put me in check. Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus goddamn fucking Christ. Fucking Christ or fuck goddamn.